In yet another blow to Trump and his legal team, federal prosecutors have now formally informed his attorneys that he is a target of the criminal investigation regarding his theft of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. This is the first instance wherein the stakes for the former president were made abundantly clear, that Trump's legal liability came into full view. The development came just before a meeting that Trump's attorneys had with special counsel Jack Smith, where they made their pitch to him not to indict their client. I spoke with former federal prosecutor Glenn Kirshner about the implications of this very meeting.
First of all, these defense attorneys know full well that, you don't make a request to the attorney general when he's not the one conducting the investigation. This investigation is being conducted independently by special counsel Jack Smith. So if they were going to request a meeting with anyone, they should have requested it with Jack Smith. This really, to me, feels more like a public relations letter than it does legitimate lawyering.
No. In general, how unorthodox or how normal is it for the team of the target investigation to request a meeting with the prosecutor's office overseeing that investigation?
So it's not all that unusual. In large white-collar cases, for example, in large conspiracy cases, once the prosecutors are pretty much at the end game of the grand jury investigation and they are preparing to ask the grand jury to vote out indictments, it is not at all unusual for the defense team representing the target of the criminal investigation to either request a meeting with the United States attorney overseeing the investigation, or for the United States attorney to actually invite the defense team in and give the defense team an opportunity to make a presentation, for example, to provide any exculpatory evidence, any evidence that may make it look like the target of the investigation is actually innocent of the charges. Every once in a while, defense attorneys will take a U.S. attorney up on that invitation. Let me tell you, by way of a footnote, in death penalty cases, for example, which I handled when I was with the Department of Justice, the U.S. Attorney's Manual, that is the Bible of our prosecutorial practice, requires the U.S. attorney to meet with the defense team before the prosecutors go in and ask a grand jury to vote out possible capital charges, that is, charges that carry the possibility of the death penalty. So it's not all that unusual for one of the last steps before an indictment is returned by a grand jury to be the defense team meeting with the U.S. attorney, trying to basically talk the U.S. attorney out of indicting. And let me tell you, Brian, rarely is that successful.
In other words, not only is the meeting not some boon for Trump, it actually signals the opposite. It's an indication that the special counsel is getting ready to indict Trump. This isn't some coup that they sat down for a meeting. It is their last chance to convince prosecutors not to indict, which, to be honest, seems all but guaranteed at this point. And further underscoring the fact that prosecutors are zeroing in on an indictment is the news that a grand jury was impaneled in Florida. Prosecutors generally seek indictments in the jurisdiction where a crime has taken place. It would stand to reason then that even though Trump took the classified documents from the White House in Washington, D.C. on the last day of his presidency, that it wasn't until he was at Mar-a-Lago and his presidency formally ended that the unlawful possession of those documents began. The grand jury could also be an indication that prosecutors have evidence of criminal conduct occurring at Mar-a-Lago. For example, we just got reporting that an employee at Mar-a-Lago drained that resort's swimming pool last October and then ended up flooding a room where computer servers containing surveillance video logs were kept. And while we don't know if the flooding was accidental or deliberate, it certainly was convenient for someone like Donald Trump, who has sought to obstruct this investigation at every turn. And of course, that's to say nothing of reporting that two of Trump's employees moved boxes of papers the day before FBI agents executed a search warrant at Mar-a-Lago in response to their subpoena, timing that investigators have come to view as an indication of possible obstruction. That's also to say nothing of the revelation that Trump and his aides had allegedly carried out a dress rehearsal for moving sensitive papers even before his office received the May 2022 subpoena. And that's to say nothing of the other recent piece of reporting alleging that federal prosecutors have audio recording of a summer 2021 meeting in which Trump acknowledges that he had possession of a classified Pentagon document about a potential attack against Iran, indicating that despite his claims to the contrary, Trump knew full well that he retained classified material even after leaving the White House. In other words, whereas he claimed that everything was declassified, he clearly understood that that wasn't the case, considering that document couldn't be both declassified but also classified to the point that he was, quote, aware of limitations on his ability post-presidency to declassify records. Because per usual, the biggest impediments to Trump's case are usually his own words. Speaking of his own words, if you needed any further indication that prosecutors are right over the target, all you have to do is glance over at the toxic cesspool that is his social media site and see posts like this one. How can DOJ possibly charge me who did nothing wrong when no other presidents were charged, when Joe Biden won't be charged for anything, including the fact that he has 1,850 boxes, most of it classified, and some dating back to his Senate days when even Democrat senators are shocked. Also, President Clinton had documents, and one in court, Crooked Hillary deleted 33,000 emails, many classified, and wasn't even close to being charged. Only Trump, the greatest witch hunt of all time. Or how about this one? It's all about election interference. They don't want to run against me. I ran twice. I did much better the second time, getting millions and millions more votes than the first, a record for a sitting president, and am leading Biden in the polls by a lot. They are the party of disinformation. They're using the DOJ and FBI against me to rig the 2024 election. They'll hit Hunter with something small to make their strike on me look fair. Nothing about these fascists is fair or honest. Fight! Or the Marxists and fascists in the DOJ and FBI are going after me at a level and speed never seen before in our country, and I did nothing wrong. Joe Biden keeps thousands of documents in many locations, some illegally taken from SCIFs while he was a senator, a big portion of which were classified. He didn't want to give them back and still doesn't. Nothing happens to him with some reasonable prosecutor who correctly exonerated Mike Pence. I have a much different prosecutor, a Trump hater. So yeah, if you weren't sure that an indictment was coming before, these heart attacks that are Trump posts should pretty much erase all doubt. And so judging by the leaks of this type of smoking gun evidence against Trump, by the fact that grand juries are in session, by the flurry of activity in Florida, and by Trump's own meltdowns on Truth Social, what's becoming clear is that a federal indictment is widely expected at any moment. This would mark the first time in American history that a former president will have been indicted in a criminal prosecution. And what's more remarkable is that this isn't even expected to be the only one. Jack Smith is also still investigating the January 6th insurrection, which, if an indictment is handed down in that case, would add to Trump's legal troubles at the federal level. And of course, an indictment is expected in Fani Willis's case in Fulton County, Georgia, where Trump was caught on tape pressuring Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to find 11,780 votes that didn't exist. And Trump has already been indicted in the Manhattan District Attorney's case regarding his hush money payouts and campaign finance violations. That case will be going to trial in March of 2024. All of which is to say, while this impending indictment may seem like the culmination of Trump's legal issues, it is very much just the beginning. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to the channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.